Some of your clients might not be knowledgeable about sound, but when they see how your workstation is neat, how well you arrange your stuff, and how well you color, code, and tag all your system, they will call you back again. In as much as we want to get good sound, which is the premium, which is the ultimate goal of a touring or a live sound engineer, the aesthetic part is in most cases overlooked. And I'm here today to talk about this other salient part of sound system setup that we seldom look. So one of them is aesthetics. Number two, the organization and arrangement of our cables. And number three, how we condition power, right? So I will not need to talk so much. So I just want you to follow me carefully as I begin to dive into some of these things. The first part of aesthetics is racking. As you can see, we are having like 5 different units here that are binded together as one, and which explain why when you have rack, don't just put the items like that hanging. Ensure you screw everything inside. The screwing part of it is actually a deliberate action to ensure that the earth or grounding polarity of all these components is one. And so when you have these things, if one item is shocking, actually everything will shock. Immediately you ground these things, it means that one cable from this can actually go to ground, and it means that all the salient form of electricity that is present in the body and the transient part as well will be grounded. So part of its aesthetics is to see that when you have gears like this, everything is screwed, including amplifier. I don't think there's any amplifier that is not screwed. It makes more sense when you deliberately ground all these components together. Again, if one component fails, it affects others. The disadvantage of not screwing this means that if there's a leakage somewhere, it might not be circulated in the body, and in that case, it might actually go into the chassis, into the microchips and all the components, the solid state component of this device. So that is very nice that in terms of aesthetic, not just providing the rack that is solving the problem, but ensure that every of these hardwares are screwed into a predefined place, actually. So this is really good. Now, the second part of this, of aesthetics, so some of you might just say it's part of making sure power is distributed to every unit. But beyond that, it is also part of a very good aesthetic arrangement where you don't have to get different extensions and start bringing power cables into the extension. But this guy too is part of the power conditioner where it is not just compulsory for it to be closer to the source. Maybe you have a distro bus. Can I have a distro bus, please? Maybe you have a distro bus that is like 10 or 12 meters away from where these components are stationed. You are actually supposed to make sure the output of this guy, or rather the input that is feeding this guy, has some dimension of length. In a layman's language, what I'm saying is that if your power sequencer cable is short, it's not too good. Now, assuming this distro box is 10 meters away from where this rack is, so how are you going to transport power from this distro into the power sequencer? Again, like I said, these are some of the things that we seldom look, because a lot of us pay more attention to the sound is good and paying less attention to the aesthetics. So this guy might be, like I said, 12 meters away from where you station your rack, and which is actually good, because when you put component in their various places, you might not have so much of cable clustering around, jeopardizing your aesthetics. So it is really good that this guy is far away. So this cable is almost like 12 to 15 meters in length. So it means you can just have this, and the stage where you position your racks is neat and is void of different types of cable littering everywhere. Number two, it's obvious that we are taking, or we are feeding amplifiers. So let me just take this out of the equation, So it's obvious that we are feeding in this amplifier from a processor or from an output of a stage box. Does it mean because we have a stage box, it should be closer to this amplifier? It is not necessary. So there's no any school of thought that says I/O must be closer to an amplifier. Actually, an amplifier is supposed to be very close to its speaker system, passive speaker system, so that we don't have so much cable running in between the amplifier racks and your array system. So which is why doing this cable is really very good, like very, very good. It means that you can bundle your cable together as one and then have the output taken from various stage box. But I thought of a better plan, so which makes me to purpose made this cable. Everything is wrapped as if it's an armored cable, actually. But since we are dealing with audio, electrical currents, it is good to have a cable that is of this kind of property. This is also part of what I call aesthetics. Very, 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 very necessary. So if you do this, your racks and where you station them will be neat. You won't have a lot of cables dangling around that. All right, the third part of aesthetics is how we patch components that are deposited at remote areas. So does it mean we are also going to send different type of cable to those areas, or we are sending an extension to that? Now, to answer that question, I had to get a normal type of power cable, which you're all familiar with this, right? So rather than cutting and joining, it is also possible to have a male and female connector in this form, where we're only using this as an extender or something that will make this cable longer than the way it is. Now, if my intention is to make sure I have 4 meters of power supply to a device somewhere, which is a standalone device that needs electricity, I would rather prefer to have stuff like this. All the polarity are actually represented, the live, the neutral, and the ground. So once you do this, you're actually extending. So if this is not enough, I have so many of them, male to female connectors. So many of them that you have to like dice their chain until the required length is achieved. I can have a device that is stationed 5 meters away from my power conditioner. Doing this will make sure I have that extension. It's not too good to cut cable and join. It's not too good. Remember, this is not a fixed installation. You set up, you tear down, you set up, you tear down. Sometimes in a week you can set up tearing down system for, let's say, 4 or 5 times. So it's good to make sure everything is secured, everything is fine. And trust me, some of your clients might not be knowledgeable about sound, but when they see how your workstation is neat, how well you arrange your stuff, and how well you color code and tag all your system, they will call you back again.